Instead, the finale felt like a pause. Like the calm before another storm. A setup rather than a send-off. A true ending would have tied the characters together, giving each of them resolution. But season 18 chose to leave them standing at crossroads. And that choice matters, because it signals that there is more to come. And here's where it gets interesting. Fans aren't just speculating in a vacuum. Members of the cast themselves have dropped hints that keep the hope for season 19 alive. To understand why a sudden cancellation makes little sense, we need to look at the bigger picture. Heartland is not just a show tucked away in Canadian television schedules. It has become a cultural fixture. Families in Canada have grown up watching it together, while fans across Europe, Asia, and North America stream it religiously. This isn't a series that fades quietly into the night. It has carried generational appeal, winning hearts from grandparents down to young teenagers who discovered it on streaming platforms. When a series builds that kind of multi-generational loyalty, networks don't end it without a carefully crafted farewell. And if there's one thing Heartland has earned, it's a farewell that feels worthy of its history. Ending with an abrupt stop after season 18 would mean leaving behind nearly 2 decades of storytelling without a proper goodbye. No celebration, no final season marketing build-up, no collective moment of closure for its loyal fan base. Networks know this. Writers know this. And fans certainly know this. Which is why speculation about season 19 has only grown louder. The rhythm of renewal. Here's another reason why fans should remain hopeful: the production cycle of Heartland. For years, renewals have followed a predictable pattern. Industry insiders, particularly Canadian union listings, often reveal details about new projects in the spring months. Then, like clockwork, Amber Marshall herself tends to confirm the news in early summer. If that tradition continues, then spring 2026 is the period to watch. That is when clarity about a season 19 renewal should arrive. And if filming follows the usual schedule, cameras would likely roll in the summer of 2025, setting up a release window in October. This rhythm isn't random. It has kept Heartland consistent, allowing fans to anticipate new seasons like the change of seasons themselves. And for a show that thrives on the cycles of family life, horses, and the land, keeping that rhythm matters. Breaking it abruptly would not just disappoint fans, it would break the very pattern that has given the series its enduring charm. The stories that demand continuation. Even if we step away from production logic, there is still one undeniable truth: the storylines themselves are not finished. Amy's journey, as always, is at the heart of it all. Since Ty's death, her life has been defined by a balancing act between memory and possibility. Nathan's presence complicates that balance, deliberately stirring debate among fans. The unresolved question, will Amy open herself to love again, is too central to leave hanging. To abandon it now would feel like robbing viewers of an answer they've waited for patiently. But Amy isn't the only character left in limbo. Georgie's absence in the season 18 finale was glaring. For years, fans have anticipated her return, many believing her next chapter involves Quinn and the possibility of marriage. Her story represents the generational handoff, the bridge between the older cast and the younger. Leaving that arc unfinished would feel incomplete and out of step with the show's tradition of continuity. Then there is Tim. His health struggles have been hinted at repeatedly, raising questions about mortality, legacy, and his role in the family. These threads weren't just minor subplots, they were carefully planted seeds. Seeds that suggest a larger resolution waiting to unfold. And what about Lou? Her accident, her personal battles, and her professional path remain unsettled. To close the book now would be to deny her the growth she deserves after years of development. All of these characters, all of these arcs, hang in suspension. And that suspension feels purposeful, as if the writers have held back their final cards for season 19. A cliffhanger of possibilities. So where does this leave us? With a finale that raised more questions than it answered. With characters whose lives remain unfinished. With cast members hinting at continuation. with production patterns pointing toward spring announcements. And with a global fan base that refuses to accept silence as the end. The weight of evidence leans heavily toward continuation. Season 18 feels less like a farewell and more like a carefully placed comma in the middle of a sentence. A pause before the story continues. At the center of everything lies Amy Fleming. For longtime viewers, her journey has always been the emotional anchor of Heartland. We watched her navigate joy, heartbreak, responsibility, and unimaginable loss. When Borden died in season 14, it felt like a wound not only for Amy but for millions of fans who had invested in their love story for over a decade. Since then, her every step has been measured against that grief. And yet, season 18 hinted at something new. For the first time in years, Amy seemed open to change, even if only slightly. Nathan's presence wasn't just about romance, it was about possibility. The possibility that Amy might allow herself to grow beyond the shadows of the past. That is why the ambiguity matters so much. Fans are torn because they feel protective of her love with Ty, but they also want her to find happiness again. And that conflict is exactly what makes the story so powerful. It's not a question that can be left unanswered. It's a question that demands exploration in season 19. The missing pieces, Georgie, Tim, and Lou. But Amy is not the only one carrying unresolved weight. Georgie's absence from the season 18 finale was more than noticeable. For years, her journey has represented the next generation of Heartland. Her relationship with Quinn, her career, her maturity, all of these arcs remain unfinished. Fans are convinced her reappearance is inevitable. And if she does return, it will not only provide emotional payoff but also ensure the show continues to bridge generations. Tim's health is another thread that cannot be ignored. His struggles have been hinted at, leaving viewers bracing for either heartbreak or triumph. His fate carries the potential to be one of the most impactful arcs the series has ever told, shaping not only his character but the entire Bartlett-Fleming family dynamic. And then there is Lou. Her accident, her balancing act between personal life and leadership, and the sacrifices she has made, none of these have been given the resolution they deserve. Lou's arc has always been one of resilience, and fans expect that resilience to be rewarded, not left in limbo. Why season 19 matters. Taken together, these unfinished stories form a picture that is too incomplete to serve as a true finale. This is not the way Heartland ends. The show has never been about abrupt goodbyes or unresolved emotions. It has always been about family, healing, and the slow but steady rhythm of life. And those rhythms have not yet reached their final beat. Season 19 matters because it isn't just about continuing a show. It's about honoring a legacy. It's about giving Amy, Georgie, Tim, Lou, and Jack the closure they have earned after nearly 20 years of storytelling. It's about giving fans who have grown up with Heartland the chance to say goodbye in a way that feels complete. The speculation, the interviews, the production patterns, all of it points in one direction. The story is not over. And when the announcement finally comes, fans will be ready. The final question. So here we are, standing at the edge of season 18 and peering into the unknown future of season 19. Will Amy open her heart fully again, or will she remain tied to the memory of Ty? Will Georgie return to continue her journey into adulthood? Will Tim's health struggles come to a heartbreaking or hopeful conclusion? And will Lou finally find balance between her personal sacrifices and her professional triumphs? These are not questions a beloved series leaves hanging forever. These are questions waiting to be answered. The only real uncertainty is not if the story continues, but when the confirmation will arrive. Until then, fans hold on to the same hope that has carried them through every twist, every loss, and every moment of healing, that the heart of Heartland will keep beating into season 19 and beyond. The finale of season 18 didn't just close the door. It cracked it open wide enough for fans to wonder, speculate, and argue about what comes next. And that uncertainty has ignited some of the most passionate conversations the Heartland community has seen in years. This is not just another Canadian drama. Heartland has become a legacy, a series that millions of families across the world have grown up with, shared, and cherished. After nearly 2 decades, it holds a special place in television history. Which is why the way season 18 ended has left so many people uneasy. There are too many loose ends, too many unresolved stories, and too much love for this show to simply fade away. So let's dive in. Let's explore why season 18 doesn't feel like the end. Why the characters still have journeys left to complete. And why every clue, every statement from the cast, and every production pattern suggests that season 19 is not only possible but likely. The shock of the season 18 finale. Season 18 was supposed to bring closure, or at least a sense of balance, to the lives of the characters. Instead, it raised far more questions than it answered. Fans expected healing, family unity, and resolution. What they got was ambiguity, tension, and new possibilities. Amy Fleming's journey has always been the heart of the show, and the finale once again placed her at the center of the storm. For years, Amy carried the grief of losing Borden, the man who defined much of her adult life. Many thought her story would remain anchored in that grief forever. But in season 18, something shifted. We saw glimpses of Amy moving forward. And then came Nathan. The finale teased the possibility of Amy finding love again. Some viewers cheered at the thought of her rediscovering joy, while others recoiled, insisting that no one could ever replace Ty. The connection between Amy and Nathan was deliberately unclear. Was it friendship, romance, or something in between? The writers left that door half open, and fans are now desperate to know whether season 19 will push it wide open or close it for good. This is not how a long-running series usually bows out. Imagine a show that has carried so many people through nearly 20 years ending with questions instead of answers. Would Heartland really say goodbye like that? Or is this cliffhanger proof that the story is meant to continue? Why season 18 doesn't feel like the end? If season 18 were truly the last chapter, fans expected something more definitive. A farewell that honored the journey. A celebration of everything the series has stood for. But that's not what they got. Think about it. Where was Lou's defining moment? Where was Jack's quiet wisdom wrapping things up? Where was Georgie, whose storylines have been central to the younger generation? And what about Tim, whose health has been a looming shadow over recent seasons? None of these threads were given the attention or closure they deserved.